Hello and happy Tuesday, diary listeners. This is part 2 of our time with Lita Edwards of Metamorphosis Inc. in Florida. She is an amazing person, does a lot of healing work and tattoos. Specifically, what we're going to be dubbing this second piece of her diary entry, Boobs and Tattoos. So listen in and hear more about the fantastic Lita Edwards. Welcome to the Apprenticeship Diaries, where raw meets refined.
Let's be real, we're still working on refining.
What it took, what it takes, and the stories that are made.
Join us as we learn from professionals about how their stories began.
Well, it's interesting to me that these schools are even possible. Like you said, I don't know how they do it, but at least as far as I understand, there needs to be, as you were suggesting, a state-sponsored accreditation for these schools. And I don't know how they can get that. I once confronted here, it was a different kind of topic, but it kind of had the same notes. It was a prison personnel, and she was trying to push for the state of Minnesota to have basically a tattoo school within prisons. And these were not like prisons where it's just like minor. These were like violent criminal prisons. And I'm very against that, just simply because I feel like the biggest route to coming back to reconnection is art itself. And they already had a very fortified art program and things like that. And our profession is very forgiving to people who are on the other side of the law and coming back. Like we will give them an opportunity. That's not a statute of our dictation. But what I noticed when I went to Minnesota, and when I
the sun's going down and it's like
blinding, taking the screen away.
Yes.
Well, and I noticed when I filed for a temporary license for Minnesota, and I don't know because I don't have a felony to my name, but it asked if you had a felony under the law. And I wonder how much that would weigh as to whether or not you actually got a license or a temporary license or any of those things. But like,
I've never heard of that.
Right. Like I had to, and even when I am licensed in Rhode Island, when I was in Rhode Island, I have to basically assure that I've never had a felony and never had a question against my license. Like I have to verify that those things have never occurred on my actual license. So it seemed like a weird, like inside job kind of thing. And the instructor to these would-be tattoo artists in prison only needed 3 years to teach them. And
wow,
right,
awesome,
right,
because you know everything,
right. And it was going to be a starting amount of $70,000 starting to teach within that place.
Who's paying that?
The taxpayer. And that's the thing, is that that's why I was really against it, was because I was like, you got so many earnest people out there working schlep jobs just to get into apprenticeship. They're paying taxes. And then you've got somebody who's already walked away from their obligation towards society. Yes, they want to rehabilitate and everything. I think the art is good for that. But like you're putting professional people, taxpayers, all of these people under the thumb of basically your kind of messed up program. And then you're making business owners have to clean up the mess. And I told this person, why won't you just have like a grant or something like that when they get out of prison that will sponsor them and pay a shop owner to to, with your approval that they have reached certain marks of their rehabilitation and they have a grant money, if you have a budget that you don't want to let go of, because that's really what it was. They had a budget that they were, exploring this whole new crafty thing that, they were like, well, we can't stop them. And I was like, absolutely, you can stop them. How about paying your your guards more to stop them? And I was like, how about paying the people who are risking their lives and inside these facilities to enforce the laws that you are actually putting forth? And they were like, well, it's a hepatitis risk. I was like, no, more of a hepatitis risk within prison is sexual misconduct. And it is misconduct because they're considered a person of the state. They're not supposed to be having sex in prison. There's a matter of consent that's there. And same goes with tattooing. And I was like, that's against your policies. So pay the people who are there to enforce the policies more, but like, don't keep doubling down on this delinquency, because all you're doing is screwing the people who ultimately are doing the right thing, like they're doing everything right.
I would be curious to know how that certification works when you come out of prison. Is it still the same as ours and you can technically go anywhere?
I don't know. I have no idea. What I did notice is after my interview with this person, the entire job description was taken down from the website. And I was calling massive attention to this, both, I'm from Maryland. I'm like, why do I care about something that's happening in Minnesota? But I just guest spotted in Minnesota and I know people there and I care about them and I care about their businesses and they weren't for it either. And I know that whatever gets, kind of passed as a precedent, it's just going to proliferate around the country. And I want it to come here. I don't want it.
You're so right on that. Yeah. I can't say I'm necessarily for it either. For me, tattooing is such a culture, from where it's come and where it's been popular, such as the prison aspect of it. There's been a whole culture to that. I almost really hate to see that part of it change.
Yeah.
I hate to see tattoos come out of prison that don't have toilet paper charcoal and metal flakes in it. You know what I mean? Like, there's such a culture to that if we just mainstream everything, we're no longer individuals in where we come from and what our story is and how we got here and the shit we had to learn with. And things like that. I do agree. There's a lot more to worry about than tattooing in prison.
There's always that too. And you're not going to be where you are forever. I mean, if you're rehabilitating, then you have to have some forward thought about where you will be. And part of the thing that I really want to, whether it is my clients that walk in and they're not, lawbreakers, they're my clients, or they're somebody in prison, is that this is your now. You need to be thinking about the future when you're getting something permanent and you're not going to be in this place forever. So, if your budget is limiting your dream, then wait and earn what you need in order to make your dream happen. But don't just respond to where you are right now. And if you are going to, then pay the cost of what that is.
I would venture to say too, you get so many young kids that see this as a rock star lifestyle and they want to come into it. Young 18, probably any age, honestly, given the human nature, but it would be an opportunity that if you couldn't nail an apprenticeship or something, they're out here doing petty crimes anyway. Let me just get arrested, go to prison for a year. I can go ahead and get that tattoo certificate like I wanted, and then I can come out and open my own shop and screw everyone else. I could see that happening because that's what's happening with the tattoo schools, and stuff here. And unfortunately, there's a thing now called salon suites. Have you heard about this? Do you guys have them up there?
No, tell me about it.
So this, I don't know.
Your face, you're kind of like, oh my God.
I'm so aggravated with this because they're making it so easy. And the problem is that the market, our market is going to be infiltrated with all of these artists that are coming in by the masses. And the more mainstream tattooing becomes, the more we're going to have coming into it wanting to do the craft to be that person. And what was I getting to on that?
The salon
Salon
suites.
suite. So
Yes.
salon suite, somebody said, let's go in. We're going to help all of these stylists, hairstylists, and we're going to rent a huge space. We're going to break it up into mini rooms, like 15 by 15 rooms. Each room has their own glass door and stuff. They lock and whatnot. And all of these little mini suites are rented out to any salon, that the person that wants to rent it out. Now, what that does is they're all individual businesses. They have caught on to the tattoo industry now. The kids that are coming out of the tattoo schools, and even say if they were to do this prison system thing, they would have the opportunity to go over here to a salon suite or at their own room. Now they got their own business. And there's so many of them here that are doing that. And sadly, they're shop hopping because they don't want to commit to having to get along with other personalities. They get their panties in the wad the first time and they run like little crybabies. And I'll just do it on my own. And we're seeing a lot of that here. But
Yeah.
if we do good cover-ups, I guess that's job security.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. It's sad though, because you know, with that, it just oversaturates the need for accountability. And
Mm-hmm.
my parents, I grew up in the salon industry, like in the beauty industry, and it's very overregulated.
Mm-hmm.
But in the overregulations of it, there isn't the oversight. So there's all this regulation that you think, oh, well, they're doing this and that, and they're trying to protect the public. And there's this big like facade of like, oh, we're trying to look out for you. But at the end of the day, what it does is, as you're saying, basically, is that it creates an unequal playing field for people who are going to actually follow things and who do actually care about not only what they do, but how they do it, how clean it is, how much they care about people. And the issue then becomes is you simply can't keep up with how many professionals you have working out there. So you can't, there's no oversight because you run into a problem of not having enough health agents to actually go and account for all of these different professionals that you have working. Because if they all have their own independent businesses and their own independent spaces and they're bouncing around a whole bunch of places, how do you keep them accountable to proper, how do you make sure that they're
You
doing what they're supposed to do for their public? You can't.
they don't care. They
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think they honestly care because, like you just said, there are so many regulations to the hair community. I mean, you guys got to pass state testings. You have to complete so many hours of schooling, and you're just cutting hair. Here, we're digging in skin all day long, and they could care less.
Yep.
We don't pass
Yeah.
a single test. We take it on Joe's signature over there that he says I'm good to go.
Yes. Well, and that's a thing that, I just I don't really, kind of it I don't know what the answer is, because I think that
Mm.
once you get like you said, as long as you're being integral, I don't think that you will be harmed by that in a lot of ways, but you are harmed by it by just how much work you have to do at the end of the day, both as a business owner, but also as like a professional that's meeting somebody who has been wounded by something like that. And it's really hard to get their trust back after they've been hurt like that. And dealing with clients that have had that kind of fallout in their experience is rough.
Yeah,
It's rough.
yeah, yeah. It really is. They never develop that team mentality, and I think you miss out so much when you just continually isolate yourself because you're unwilling to work through issues or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. Which that's okay. Let them sit over there by themselves, I guess. Hopefully one day they'll get wind in their sail.
it's so weird to me because, I was putting myself up on that panel because I'm in a private studio right now. I am pretty much my own entity, but I don't like it. I hate it. I was like,
Yeah, you get bored. There's no
yeah,
one to talk to. There's
I,
when
I'm
you're I think one of the things that I struggle with personally is that when you're the best in the studio, you don't have anybody that you're chasing after, type thing. But fortunately, with the World Wide Web and stuff, all I have to do is go to my Instagram feed, and all of a sudden, I feel like an apprentice again. Was some of the artwork I'm seeing? So it keeps me pretty humble in that regard.
totally, totally. Well, and I it's just I mean, I think it's not only a selfish vibe that I seek at times to like go and be around other artists and like, but it's also like offering up a piece of myself that might not be in that area at all. Like, my style or something, if there's oversaturation of a style, you go other places and, in your town, you're accessible, but like you go someplace else, they don't have anybody that does what you do. So, in that kind of respect, yeah, I'm definitely not. I think that I do good art and I think that I always put my best to things, but I think the thing that I'm best at is imbuing trust from my clients and working with them so that when they wear whatever we design it together. And so they have something that is so much more than the tattoo. It's like this moment that is going to forever stay with them that really like brings them back. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember at Paradise Gabe was like, do you have a mailing list? And I was like, no, I don't have a mailing list. He's like, what? And I was like, he's like, how do people know to come back to you? Like, how do you get your regular clients back? And I was like, oh, they come back. They never,
Yeah, they
I don't
never
have,
leave.
I'm right. They never leave. Like, I have to be like, hey, honestly, I'm not the best at this. Like, you should probably see this person. They're like, I don't want to go. And I'm like, it's going
Yeah,
to be fine.
yeah.
Like,
I can relate.
yeah. So like, and to your point about like, you want to always learn and things like that, but part of it too is like kind of the ownership of what you bring to the table, like what you facilitate for other people. Having a business is about like being a part of a community and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. And what I've heard from your story is that um you haven't had your own kids, but you've taken on a lot of kids and you've facilitated a place and um just like a growth provoking environment for your
Mm-hmm.
community and something that brings joy and light back to people. So it's so much more and it keeps expanding if you think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, I it sounds great, Lita. Like you're doing a really cool thing. Yeah. Well, and I think ultimately, when you have that kind of attitude, everything's going to be all right, hopefully. My prayer is that the people who get into this with bad intentions, that it breaks them before they're able to do too much damage.
I think that it does.
Yeah.
It'll eventually, because if we look around, if I look around to the people that are at our level or this many years in the industry, all the others fell away.
Mm-hmm.
How many did we come up with that aren't there today?
Yeah.
Eventually, it will get them. Yeah.
Well, in Paradise too. I mean, I can't help but give such an homage to Paradise because I
Oh
mean
my
that was
God. Yeah.
your place to kind of like light a fire and invoke that heat inside of you and inspire more growth and learning. And same thing with me, man. And now we both are, I mean, I really identified with what you said when you were standing up there and you were like, well, was my first time, my first seminar. And, you know, back when I first came here, I was sitting in the seat and I
Hmm.
wasn't speaking up here. And now I'm speaking, it's really
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah. It's been on my dream board for many years. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
to, teaching.
Yeah.
especially at Paradise. So it was pretty good. I've taught seminars. I've been honing it in for a while,
Yeah.
but that was by far my biggest one yet.
What made you really keen on the mastectomy part of things? Like, what was the hook there? Do you remember the first?
Oh, yeah, it's the 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 whole point of the story. Let's see, I'll shortline it. It's about 4 years into my career, and I'm in the South, so women are very conservative and proper. And a lady, 68 years old, her name is Alice. She came into the store one day and she's like, I wanted to talk to somebody about possibly covering up some scars. She started telling me her story. I'd never met her. Uh, she hadn't had sex with her shirt off since she had the mastectomy 12 years prior. She had a boyfriend that rode a motorcycle, and he'd never seen her topless. She cried every day when she got out of the shower. Um, and she always wore shirts, way up here. It didn't matter how hot it got and stuff like that. And her story was so touching to me. Now, I've never been touched with breast cancer, had no idea it existed, never seen a woman without boobs, didn't know this was an issue with women not having them, so on and so forth. So I was completely naive. And I said, well, at the end of the consultation, I said, I got to see, I got to look. And when she took her shirt off, one of the most important things is you never have a reaction. Doesn't matter how bad it is. And I didn't have a reaction with the exception of just a few tears. And then I kind of cried together with her that day. And I said, Alice, I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something to make you feel beautiful again. And it was the transformation, the metamorphosis
Mm-hmm.
of her so many years ago, 12 years ago, that in that, or 10 years ago, in that moment, I knew exactly why I was in this industry. Now I'm putting the pieces of the puzzle together a little bit. I'm going back to the journey and the voice speaking, and I'm going, okay, this is starting to make sense now. And so then I spent the next couple of years trying to get people to pay attention to me, that I wanted to pursue this as a career. Didn't get anything. And the story goes on from there, which is what ultimately led me to Florida. But in the beginning, Alice was the one. She was it. She was everything. It just took one. I had no doubt. I've never looked back. I've chased it ever since. I have chased it with all I've had to make a difference in these women's lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it started.
Oh, I love it. It made me really happy when you like looped it around to the voice, and you had said when you back then that it was divine. And I
Mm-hmm.
do think it's divine when that happens. And I do think that I was kind of touching on that when it comes to not being the best artist necessarily, but when you're gifted
Yeah.
and you have a power to do something and to bring somebody back in a way, it's awesome. It's awesome.
When I went to my very first tattoo convention, old scruffy biker dude, white hair, long white beard, he's at his station. I'm in here like an infant, just drooling at the mouth. And I'm like, what can you? My intent was to go to as many people as I could and be like, what advice would you give me as a new artist right now? Like, that was my quest. And two things stuck out to me in that whole conference that I still remember and carry with me today. And I pass on to my kids just the same. And the first one was, as a female in this industry, you can be good, you can be half-assed, but if you approach it with confidence, you will be successful. So
Oh,
I always, didn't matter what I approach everything with the utmost confidence. I could be in the bathroom praying 30 seconds prior, hoping to God, calling on everything, I can possibly do to come in and be with me on this day, because I'm so nervous. But when I come out of that bathroom, I know exactly what I'm doing. You know what I
yep.
mean? So that was one thing that stuck with me there. And now I'm so caught up on that. I can't remember the second one, but I know who it was. It was a gentleman named Johnny Nobody. That was That was his
I
name,
love
Johnny
that.
Nobody. Yeah, he ended up moving. He's over in Kissimmee, Florida, I believe. He's not too
Oh,
far away.
really? Oh, that's
Yeah, it's
cool.
pretty interesting. So those were little pivotal things I think in the beginning that gave me those keys to walk forward with the utmost confidence in pursuing something even like this. Because you walk into a doctor's office, you better have confidence, girl. They
Yeah,
don't play around. They're not fucking around.
right.
So yeah.
Well, and also they don't know you, so you have to be able to advocate for yourself too,
Hmm.
and what your boundaries are, like
Yeah.
I think that's the truth in any business really, is that we come to play, and if you're not ready to play, man, get out
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice for all of those, you know, fields and ways. I do think that confidence goes a long way. And like you said, it's like that pre-fight hype that you have to have, like where you just kind of like, okay, what do I need? What do I need?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like kind of pray about it, like ask and go through a few things. My thing with public speaking is always like having arguments to myself. I must look like a freaking lunatic, but I always I always like like pose the question to myself and then like debate it from every angle. It's like 3D chess of whatever I'm talking about. And then I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, you're ready. You can
Yeah.
you can handle it.
Yeah.
Because I think the worst is if I think the worst now as like a older person is to you know, when somebody asks you why you did it, you go, I don't know. Like that's the worst. I don't ever want to be that person. I want to have a reason. I want
Yeah.
everything that I do to have
Yeah.
a reason.
Yeah.
I'm too freaking old to
Yeah.
not have a reason.
Yeah.
So I feel that about you hard. And you're good too. Like your face is and I mean that you have a very nice demeanor about you, as far as like when you said you can't react, like it's just calm, it has confidence, it's like, we're gonna do this, it's not panicky. And you're right, you
Mm-mm.
can't have any of those things. It has to be very clinical, it has to be something where you really are attentive. I find that hardcore. I had a I do, well, I used to. I haven't done it in a while, but do some new modeling. And there was a couple guys that I was trying to like, help them open their portfolio. And you can't really get people as a guy to take their clothes off for you until you've have a few people that have taken their clothes off for you, or else everybody's going to think
Hmm.
you're a serial killer.
Right.
And, and that was one of the things that I had to go through with one of them, at least, was he had said something about something being sexy. And I was like, what? Nope. No, don't ever say that. Don't
Yeah.
ever say
Professional
that.
people.
Yeah.
Professional.
Yeah. I was like, now, if you're doing a certain kind of shoot, maybe if it's geared that way, I said, but we did a consultation. Don't ever say that, because that's gonna
Hmm.
make a woman just like seize up,
Hmm.
and we want to feel sexy, but we have to feel sexy um with that professionalism and that coaching and that guiding and things like that.
Hmm.
um I think as soon as you feel like you're in a sexual kind of realm, it feels really confronting and very off. Like you said, you didn't like the fact that a lot of the flirting would happen in the spaces
Hmm.
where it needed to be about servicing this person and helping them in a way that
Hmm.
was not about that at all. They couldn't even, like Alex, she couldn't even approach her own sexual life with the privacy of her own home with people that she trusted in that
Hmm.
arena. So
Yeah.
it's not going to go over well if you're doing
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And it's really important that if you want to be a person, and I would think that if you're doing photography or anything like that, that's what you want to give people, is this liberation, this feeling like they can be a part of something like that too, this embracing of their bodies and their expression and all of these things. So yeah, just everything you've said is amazing. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Is there
To
any
hear the rest of the story sometime.
Yeah, I mean, we have like these things go on for a while. Like whatever you want to offer up. I have a question.
Okay.
Beyond, I guess now that you're going to be a tattoo grandmother, how
Mhm.
does that look? Do you beyond the photo shoot where like you're all gonna, sit around with the baby? Do you counsel, as a grandmother, what like your apprentice into her apprenticeship? Like how is that like in being a salon owner and then fostering somebody who's apprenticing someone? Because that can get
It's like
muddled too.
fostering.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
I think so. For a while, she has been on me about wanting an apprentice for 2 years because with our studio, it's a teaching studio.
Mhm.
If you come in under me and I teach you everything that I know, and then somebody new comes into the studio, it's not expected, but it's respected
Right.
that your knowledge goes into that person just the same, just like you were helped along. Or one hand's always reaching back to pull the other one up. So with the new one coming in, because I wouldn't let her have one. I'm like, you're not ready. You're not ready. I'm like, you're 30 minutes work to late or late to work every day. How are you going to be a role
Right.
model for somebody when you can't even show up on time? And so we battled it out, but she's at the point that I felt she was ready. She's got the knowledge. What knowledge she doesn't have, I have. So I feel really secure in that. Now, as far as her taking her on and where I will stand with that, I will stand with the belief that I trained her and I raised her to be who she's supposed to be and to carry that torch forward for me. So I'm going to step aside and
Gotcha.
she's going to do all of it. If there's issues to deal with her, that's on her to deal with it. And she will more than likely consult me, as she still does today, on any issues before she confronts them and how they should be handled, for the sanity of the studio and the other artists in there and the client.
Right.
There's a fine line. You still have to weigh balance of, you can't just get hateful with people. You got to be professional. So I'm going to step aside and let her do that. I think she will do it very well. I do think she'll consult me a lot, but we're an open training studio. Her husband comes in and works with us, who's been in the industry for 20 years. I worked with him for years before they met, and it's been he comes in and he's got a lot to offer to the table too. So there's different people to come in that bring different knowledge to the table for everyone to really get a good roundabout thing. But being a grandmother is this one, I'm going to have the fun in it, and I'm going to let her deal with all the problems.
I like that. I like that. That's really cool. Okay, diary listeners, 'tis the season for giving wonderful things to family and friends, and what better than a handcrafted gift that you can order from aspiring artists who are out there hustling, basically doing everything that we're doing here on this podcast, pursuing passion. I got two for you. Both of them have actually been on the podcast. There's Tara Bell, and you can find her at Tara Kendall Creations. That's where you can also find her on Etsy. She has wonderful merchandise there for sale. And like I said, she puts so much love and care into the creations that she makes. Great, great artwork. It's very seasonal. It's very, very specific to that perfect person in your life. Same goes for my other friend, Ken Madden. Ken you can find at Mad K Studio, and that's MADDK__ studio. And you can also find him at madkstudio.com. There you can find lots of beautiful merchandise that he has for sale. You can also request a commission. Now, I would rush if you want him to do something specific for the gearhead in your family. If you have a car that you know that they would love to have a commission of, contact him so he has more than enough time to get it done by Christmas. But he does do specific commissions. There's also Horrible Designs, horribledesigns.com, that you can go and you can purchase some of Ken's work. He sells t-shirts there, coasters, all manner of different things that you can have for that gearhead, again, in your family that would love something like that. It's beautiful work, everyone. Both of them have stunning artwork. So go check them both out. Try to buy from whoever you think is small and local. These guys, I mean, Tara's local to Maryland. Ken's out there in the Midwest, so he's but he's pursuing his passion and his dream. And I would love for all of you to just encourage that. The more that we give to people like that, the more we uplift each other. So God bless, and thank you both for just making it happen. Is it slow season for you? Are you having cancellation after cancellation? Well, my friend, it might be time to reinvent your tattoo game. This is the time for me to remind you that through this podcast, you can scroll down in our show notes and actually get a link for 10% off a Reinventing the Tattoo subscription. You will be guided through mountains of information. It's just a wealth of knowledge for you. Up your game, scale what you know, and don't feel the pang of the season so much. Rededicate to your education. If you are a studio owner, I can't think of a better gift to give your studio than a subscription to Reinventing the Tattoo. We can't get any better than Guy Aitchison, really, in the amount that he gives us and what he explains through Reinventing the Tattoo canon. So go. Give something awesome so that you can have a bright, fresh, reinvented new year, and perhaps in 2024, as you're approaching 2025, it's not going to feel the same as it does today. Back to our podcast. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I only asked because of recent, I didn't know about this. I didn't even think about it because I was like your apprentice. She's now going to be an apprentice, mentor rather. But I was like her. I wanted to have an apprentice under somebody else, and I just wanted the experience of teaching somebody and felt up to the challenge of that, and thought it would be a lot like what you're doing. It got muddled at times, but without going too far in that, I talked to somebody else and he was like, yeah, I took an apprentice under someone else under their shop. And I charged for this, but unbeknownst to me, the owner like kind of snaked in and wanted to have the apprentice sign a contract saying if they hadn't finished their apprenticeship, that they would owe him money. But off of my efforts. And I was like, oh God, that's awful. It didn't even occur to me that would be a thing. But we were talking about how, now that I've experienced what I've experienced, I probably wouldn't apprentice somebody unless I was running my own shop. Just for those reasons, like my own reasons and how it got muddled. But then that was an added one. So I think that that's wonderful, Lita, that you're having that kind of grace, the way you're working, because it does, it just, when you have that kind of attitude of not only gratitude, but giving, passing that torch down and trusting that what you have given somebody matters and is integral. I think you can fully kind of let go and know that it will bring back all the awesomeness that it's supposed to, and that you don't have to control things from that place of fear or needing to control. So that's really cool.
It is, yeah. The girl, so she's getting an art degree. She'll be finished with college in May or whatever. She's writing on a softball scholarship, so she's committed to sports and stuff and whatnot.
Awesome.
But this year, she spent her summer break coming into the studio every day, and then she'll be in for Christmas break, spending the time in the studio, because I require, regardless of who you're apprenticing under, you're not coming in until you've passed the test with everybody in the studio. And I really adore this particular person who kind of ties back to my wife and her mother, who owned an animal hospital. And anyway, Brielle's grandmother works for the hospital and has worked for them for how long? 20 years or better, probably.
Wow.
So it's
Awesome.
interesting. I've never met her before, so it's interesting she's come into our shop when her grandmother has worked for her mother's shop for so long. And we didn't know who she was. And it was just total random event.
Wow. That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It feels divine.
Yeah. Her grandmother, however, hates tattoos and thinks we're all going to hell. So
Oh, well, I'll pray for her.
yeah. Yeah.
I'll pray
Yeah.
for
She's
her.
in good hands, Grandma. I'll take over from here.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a funny thing because I'm now I go to church and everything, and I've had, different aspects of it, but I do believe that, we're all called to different things. Like you said, that divine spirit, and the concept of God is that it's an omnipresence force that doesn't exist in a linear time. It's all time and space. There is no human concept of time. It is everything all at once. Our minds as a person can't conceive of that. So when people say things about my tattoos, I'm like, God already knew I would have these.
Here's what I like to tell him in Revelations. I think it's chapter 4, when Jesus comes back on the white horse.
Yeah.
It says that it is literally written upon his thigh, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. To me, that's a tattoo, folks.
I mean,
I'm gonna be out front.
Oh, you guys are awesome. She is beautiful.
I'll see ya.
Hi, I love your hair.
She loves your hair.
I know. It's epic.
It's like the Amazon lady. I love it.
I'm so jealous, but God bless.
Yes, right.
That's so awesome. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I find that funny when people stick to that as a thing. And I do sincerely pray for her grandmother because it'll wreck her potential of having connection with her granddaughter, and that's sad. Like that's sad.
I think a little bit. Once she gets started with me, though, I mean, I really run a solid place, not tooting my horn, but I really run an integrity, very, very, very well respected studio with everyone in the community across the board, including the medical community and stuff. So I think once she sees that she's a part of that, as all the others have done, once they realize they're not just in a back alley shop working with bikers smoking dope out the back door, which is usually me. None of them smoke. I smoke like a freight train.
You're like, that's all I do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very important part of my process. Like most artists, though, I'm very, very bipolar 1. I am medicated, and that is just kind of keeps me at a normal function for the
I
day.
hear you. Yeah.
I can really get out there when I have my flip out spells. So nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
You sound very aware. Like I met you too. You had a friend with you, and you're like, nothing good comes when I'm to myself. So I brought a friend.
Yes.
And I think that's good.
Yeah, it does. I mean, this is a lot to control, girl.
I know. I feel you. I feel you.
Get carried away.
Well, and I have codependency, so a lot of my I regulate myself better if I have somebody to do it for, and if I have people to account for. Like it helps the accountability for me, like you said about your apprentice. You're 30 minutes late all the time. Like you can't be a mentor for somebody. You have to stand as an example. So when you know those things about yourself,
it takes, what are you passing on if you're not passing it on? I'm raising you to be an independent, successful business owner and tattoo artist. There's two parts to that. It's all encompassing, from our mental health to our personalities to how we run a studio to how well we tattoo, how well we deal with people, and it's a full gamut. So if you don't if you can't bring that to the table, you're not ready for an
Right.
apprenticeship. And part of being a business owner is you show up on time. You're there early. The doors are open. If your hours say 11 to 7, the doors are open 11 to 7. You know, you don't get done at 5 and bail. It's little things like that. So until you're at that point, you're not ready.
Yeah. And I do like the fact that, that there's acceptance of the things that you have to confront without them being an excuse as to why you can't.
Mhm.
And, I think that's important. And I do think you're right about the family and the grandmother and things, because it's happened to my family, like I've been a challenge. I've been a certain kind of crazy and in my
Mhm.
my experience too. And
Mhm.
now I know how to regulate it. It took a lot, but I know how to regulate it, and I don't make it a reason not to. I just manage it, and I make sure it's not anybody else's problem but my own. And if it has to be somebody else's thing to help me with, then I make sure I go to the right resources to take that out on,
Right. Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like you, I very much so I like the idea. One of the girls that I was going to bring to Paradise, they couldn't come because they had a lot of family stuff going on, but she
Mhm.
contacted me. She has my cell phone number. She's one of the few that I let have them. She's a 15-year-old girl, and I wanted her to come to Paradise so that she could, see all us weirdos successfully, mentoring each other and doing a really cool thing. She came a couple years ago and loved it, and she is growing up, and she contacted me a little while ago and she said, I have autism. And I was like, you want a list of the things I have? I was like, girl, I'm fairly certain I'm on the spectrum too. I was like, I have codependency, I have adult ADD. I'm fairly certain I have narcissistic tendencies that I'm aware of, but I try to manage. They're there though. And I was like, I got food addiction, I got people addiction, I got like all these things, but I still make a good living and I'm still a successful
Mhm.
human being. It's like you said, you just gotta have that confidence. You can't let it get in the way of what you can actually do in this world,
Right.
It's very important. I'll
Yes.
pause for us for a second. You poor thing.
No, listen, I'm doing it.
I'm
I
doing it.
can
I
keep
love
right
it.
on rolling.
I love this style. This is so cool.
Multitaskers.
I dig you, girl. I can't wait to get to Florida.
You you should get to Florida and I mean, I can't say enough about Dawn specifically. She was a very integral part of opening the studio. It took me, her, and Sierra, the three of us, in taking this venture, and she has just brought so much to the table with that. You're going to absolutely, I'm telling you, you're going to leave with stick figure.
I love
You
I
will
want
leave.
I think I will. I think I will. I love
She has
that.
quite
You're
the
gonna leave with a
personality.
stick person.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
I
Let me
love
tell
it.
you, I have had when we so it all started. I host art nights every now and then, and basically we just invite other shops, our closer shops that we're really friends with and stuff, and we all get together for a night off of tattooing to just create art and drink. And Dawn showed up one night and she sat there and played her game the whole time. And you can't leave. You have to submit a piece of art. If you show up, you got to produce art, or you're
Yep.
not welcome, or you're not invited back. And even though she's co-owner with the studio with me, the rules didn't bend for her.
I love
And
it.
so she drew this stupid stick figure, right? And then it was, let me tattoo this on you. And then the next day, like Sierra's client, he's like, oh, I got one, we should do another. And then her friends at work saw it. So Dawn's been with Publix groceries for over 30 years,
Oh
knows
wow.
everyone in the entire state of Florida, I think, that works for Publix, which was another good boost in opening a studio. But she she showed somebody at work and they were like, oh, I got a birthday coming up. I'd love an astronaut. And when we did that one, I had just gotten just drunk enough to say, let's go live. This was before COVID. And that was all it took.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it's still going today.
I
What I was
love
going to
it.
say, when I came to Paradise Tattoo Gathering, she always wants to feel a part of everything. So I took her business cards, and I had everything was branded Boobs and Tattoos, with the exception of this stack of business cards that said Crooked Lines from Start to Finish by Dawn. And I
I
want you to
love it.
know what didn't even end the first night, and all of them were gone.
Wow. Wow.
I was like,
That is
what, I'm up here for all this fancy smancy shit, and all your stuff is the ones that go first. They could care less.
Ah, oh my goodness. Well, and it's
Anyway,
just, it's like you said at the top, man, like people, you can't take things too seriously. Like I'm a pretty serious person, but I love the ability to just find the funny, like you got to find the
mhm,
funny or you're going to cry. And the best is if you
mhm.
can laugh and cry at the same time. Like if you're laughing so hard, you just can't, you can't not cry. So that kind of joy, it just and in our industry, it gets so serious that, it's wonderful if you can loosen it up and, do something like that. And I think it's a refreshing atmosphere too, to have somebody like that in a learning studio, because then there's not this hesitancy, like I said, to feel like you can or you can't draw, like, or you,
Yeah.
I I have like one person's first tattoo on me, and she
Mhm.
was so like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm sure. Dude, I wouldn't have thought that you were a good prospect to be an apprentice." And she wasn't my apprentice, but I did pretty much put her before her mentor and said, you should probably look at this girl. I said,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have done that if I didn't see you being a wild success at this. Like, there. So of course I want your first 100%, because this is going to
Right.
be OG. This is going to be something that is a collector's item that nobody else will get this. I get this
Right.
and I want it. And of course it's, it might not be perfect, but I really don't think it's going to be that bad. And it's also going to be something where I can help advance your career and learning, because I know what a tattoo should feel like. So I can
Right.
inform you a lot better from that place than any of the people that you can work on and I look at you work on. I can let you know you're not pulling hard enough, you're not stretching enough, you're not like some lines I was like, that wasn't a line that didn't go in the skin. You gotta hurt me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah.
she was great, and I to this day I love the tattoo she gave me. It was a little tooth, perfect, and like the metamorphosis. That's a sign of change too. Like when your teeth fall out, you get new teeth, and I thought that was such a great symbol of her transition into her career. But like that ice is a lot easier broken if you have somebody like Dawn in the studio, where people are like,
Mhm.
oh, instead of like comparing themselves, like you said, to Instagram, where in a moment you can be in 15 years and think, oh my God, how do
I
I
suck.
compete? Like, how do I compete with this? Right.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's so great. I love Dawn
Yeah.
now too. Crap.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna get one. I
I
will get one.
I
I
think
feel
you should
assured.
just do a podcast with her, and you can ask her story and
I
get your
would.
side of the story. I'm telling you what, she is. You just have to meet her. She's her own person. Like literally one of the most unique characters you'll ever meet. She definitely stands out in the crowd.
That's
Mhm.
amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I already love her. I love her hair. I love what she does, her business card, like all of it. Like it's so great. This is great. Lita, is there I guess if you were to give a nod, I mean, of course, Dawn, of course, you know,
Mhm.
I guess the people that work with you on a continual
Mhm.
basis, and the community that you're around, but are there people that you look up to, or that, or it doesn't have to be in tattooing. It could just be, you want to give a shout out to.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's been so many people. I know this is such a common one, such a common one. Oprah
It's hard though,
Winfrey.
because there's been a lot.
Yes,
Oprah
but
Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey, when she started doing those Super Soul Sundays and Masterclass episodes, I don't know if you watch those or not.
I
I'm real big
haven't.
on, if I read a book or listen to something, it's got to be building myself for something better. I've got to be honing in. I got to figure out where I'm going wrong. How can I make myself better? What can I implement in my life? And not just for myself, but how I deal with my studio, because that is a majority of my life right there in a nutshell. I birthed it, I created it, I grew it. It's growing. It's finally a ship that runs on its own steam. I don't have to sit there and row every fucking day anymore. But I think Oprah in those courses really gave me the means to kind of create that professional person with the attitude that I saw myself as a woman presenting as, because we only have that vision. It's not that we act that in the moment. And so I would just, with her, I always came to the table with anything and I would be like, how would the woman I want to be react to this? And then I would go do that. And I learned a lot of that through her classes, because I learned about the woman I wanted to be through the profession and the people that she had taken upon herself to interview or felt like had a contribution to society. So I have to say, and she's on my dream board still. She's been on my dream board for 15 years. She doesn't know it. She's going to meet me one day. I mean, that's going to be the most epic thing, is the day that she meets me. And
It will be for
I,
her.
I thought I got close once. I thought I got close once because I had a client in the chair whose best friend was a video producer for her.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, oh, maybe I can make a phone call. But, nothing ever transpired from that. But that one little incident proved to me it's coming. It's
Yeah,
coming. It's not right now, but it's
that's
there. That's just
awesome.
one little inch closer to that direction. So Oprah Winfrey is definitely one of them. Um, I have to say, I got to give shout outs to those who went before us in the industry that really kind of helped pave the way. And that's not just one or two people, but many people. And so for me personally, that was Gabe Ripley and Fawn Baker and Alex DePasse, Nick Baxter, Bob Tyrell, Nico Hurtado. I've learned from all of them. I've taken their seminars and stuff like that. And I think they just really, the humbleness, Gunnar, and
My
even
God,
Jeff
yes.
Gogway. Jeff Gogway is so sweet.
He is so sweet.
Just contributing to the point that they shared beyond their tattoo. They shared their personal lives. They shared their history, and stuff. And having the freedom to be open and not ashamed was one thing that all of them taught me in the highest regard for that, because we come from a community where you don't share anything, and here
Yeah.
these people are out here and they're sharing it all, even some of their deepest secrets. I'm like, damned if I'd have said that on stage, but okay, and it
I
was
know.
still, it was great. It was great learning lessons in that. There are so many people. My wife, she's another big inspiration to me and supportive in all of my endeavors. She gets mad when I take on new projects because we have very little time now, but I can't stop in that regard. So there's a list of people I would say, and that's probably my top ones right now. My mother, I'm going to give it out to my
Awesome.
mom. Yeah, she started with making me believe that I can do anything. She really honed that in on me. I remember playing music. I was a very young girl. I come from an artistic family, a lot of musicians, and I would go and I would compete in these violin competitions, and I would play for state and stuff like that. And we did it every year. And during those years of just being young like that, I remember getting nervous. I'd go in the bathroom, I'd throw up, I wouldn't want to do it. And she would never let me quit, never let me quit. She always said, if you believe you can do this, you can do it. Now get your ass back in there and try it again. And she never let me back down from that. And I got to say, all of that came into play with the hardships that we do face in the industry. I was determined to be a success. She made me believe I could do anything I wanted, and I didn't care what they said. I was going to do it. So
That's awesome. Yeah, God bless the moms, because I feel you. Mine hasn't been an easy one either, but same thing. She was like, what you put yourself to, you better finish. Better finish.
finish
So
it. Yeah.
that's awesome. I love that. It's such a good list.
Yeah. And the other thing was, if you're not going to give it 150%, don't even waste your time.
Yeah.
It's not even worth doing. And
Yep.
little by little, all those years it stuck with me.
Yep.
So.
Lita, this has been amazing. And
Yes.
and I know I'm one of the many things that I'm sure you have just taken on. So please be sure to tell Dawn that I appreciate borrowing you for this time.
I will do that. I will do.
Yeah.
Send her you know what? She loves beer. Send her beer. She'll be
I
happy.
will. I will.
That's the way to her heart.
I mean, you're local in the community. I mean, let's put out this into the universe. I mean, what's her favorites? I need to know. Like, I mean,
Bud
beer in
Light.
general, but Bud Light.
Bud Light, Bud Select. That's it.
Okay, well, that's good. We came
Super
down to
simple. Yeah. I mean, there's Bud Light's it.
Yep, I love it. I love it. Well, cool. That'll be an easy thing for anybody to, throw at her. I love it. I will. When I come,
Yeah.
I'm getting some Bud Light and I'm gonna get me a stick figure. Love it.
And you're gonna have an amazing time.
I already know I am. I've had an amazing time with you. You're a joy.
So I'm going to Oklahoma. I'm actually doing a guest spot with Renee.
Oh,
Renee
yeah?
Little. Yeah, the end of April I'll be up that way. I've already marked it off on my calendar to be out there for like 5 or 6 days and go fuck around in Oklahoma, see what I can find out.
I need to get her on the show. That's another one I want to get on here because she has her own apprenticeship like seminar that she kind of gives to kind of ferret out whether or not people are dedicated. So she's definitely an entity I want to get on there, but I'll have to ask her if she has more than one place available at her shop. That would be cool.
She told me she had plenty of room.
Oh, cool. So
you should fly out there and do a guest spot at the same weekend. Do it.
I know. I would love that. So May what to what? We're gonna put this out in the universe. So
hold on, I gotta
the more people know about this, that they're out there. I love Middle America too, and I've heard Oklahoma is pretty cool.
She says she has a lot of boobs out there. I guess a lot of women that needed services, and
that's awesome.
So I'm going. I'll probably have my calendar filled, but I'm going to expand upon my boobs.
I love it.
My boob collection.
Your boob collection.
My boob collection.
This is a fun story. So, when I was at my second apprenticeship and I had graduated already, but we were on a strip, like a strip mall kind of thing. And on foot, we had a couple strippers from the strip club down the way on foot giving goodie bags to drum up business and coupons for the strip club. Now, I don't know what kind of hard times, but I guess the strippers were getting some exercise and things like that, getting out, like doing their thing. And in there was a plush stress ball boob. And it is my favorite asked for like squeeze thing. So I don't know if you have boobs that like stress balls at your shop.
People have been talking to me about it, but
dude, it is I have several that I offer people and they're like, no, I want the boob.
Yeah.
The boob. And it's like stuck up on the wall in this really weird way. Yeah. And it has like, it has like the little nipple and everything. I had to glue it on because I had some tyrant that was like picking the nipple off of it. And I don't know who it is, but I don't want to be in the bedroom with them. That's not my thing. But like someone was like, I had to like stick the nipple back on. But yeah, that is my most wanted and sought after stress ball. The boob from Night Shift. Go love on those ladies. They need you apparently. I don't know how much they need you, but they're good people and they're willing to go on foot for their profession.
That's awesome.
I know. And give out boobs that everybody loves. Like, it is awesome.
It is awesome. I feel so fortunate that I can be so confident with my boobs and go around and just tell people I'm known for my boobs. And let me show. I mean, it's such a big thing, and I can own that. And
Yeah.
people will look at me kind of weird. And the moment I explain it, they're like, "Oh my God," and they're just so thankful. I love it. I have like an edge in on that.
Well, have you know that if Amy falls short, if we're ever in the presence of two Amy's, and this is where this usually comes out, a nickname amongst friends, because in my timeline, Amy was a big name. It was that and Jennifer. So I find myself around a lot of them. My nickname is Nipples.
Nipples.
Nipples. My boss's daughter couldn't, well, she knew her money, but sometimes she'd confuse nickels and nipple as a word. And so my last name is Nicholls. So I was like, oh, that's funny. So she'd come into the shop and she'd be like, hello, Amy Nipples.
You want to know what's funny is I recently, within the last few months, got connected with this fundraiser, or not fundraiser, but this local nonprofit foundation found me, and they raise money to help pay women to get their tattooing done after breast cancer. And the name, you can look this up. Their name is Nichols for Nipples.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, I
So
love that.
your
I should
nipples and
probably contact
nipples
them.
Nichols.
Nickels for nipples. Oh, I love it.
That fits so perfectly. I feel like that's a sign.
It is a sign. Well, we were meant to meet. I do think it's all divine. And
Yeah.
I, it all stems from such integral things. I mean, all of this, like my podcast, like I try to be like very organic. I'm just letting it grow slow. But since this last time at Paradise, man, like at first I had to like pull interviews out of people. Like it was like I couldn't get
Mm-hmm.
them on. And now I have people like you who are like amazing. And Nick Baxter's gonna be on. Like I'm getting interviews that I just didn't even think I could, and it's
Yeah.
pretty exciting. I'm not going to do anything with it except for embrace it and be super excited. And
Yeah,
you
just
know,
enjoy the journey.
I'm telling you, man, it's really cool.
I'm right there with you in it.
Do you want to announce your guest spot for anybody who wants to come out to see you? Like you might be full already, but reach out to you for the next time you're there, or like just spread the word for the Oklahoma trip and for me, so I can contact Renee too, and maybe see you too.
Yeah, we do have guest spots available for anybody that wants to swing through. Now with that though, we're not like a walk-in shop
Mhm.
necessarily unless I advertise. I kind of control that with advertisement because most of us book months in advance. So I don't really need that. But um that being said, if you book months in advance, I can have a calendar, scheduled for you based on what you do and what you can provide because we have so much overflow. So there's usually always a chair available.
Nice.
We've got one, two, three, four, it's like six stations,
Nice.
four of which are in use full time, and the other two, which are just rotators for people that come and go. And
Beautiful.
I have three other artists that come and go on a regular basis. One of my friends out of Virginia, she came down Friday the 13th. I was in Massachusetts,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a big deal. So she came in and sort of filled my spot for me while I was out of town. But
Aw, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's
Well,
nice to have friends like that.
I'm going to be reaching out for you. And then your time with Renee will be, did you figure it out?
Oh,
Because I
that we're flying out April 13th.
April 13th. Oh, that's
And I
cool.
haven't decided if we're coming back on like the next Thursday, or I really need to talk to her more in depth about how many days we're looking at booking, what her hours of operation and stuff are. But I just went ahead and marked like an entire week off so that I had the wiggle room. But we're definitely flying out on the 13th, though.
Fantastic. Well, I'll hit her up and try to do that. And for anybody listening, when you listen to this, Renee Little is somebody to know, and she's just amazing. Like her personality is infectious and such a talent as well. So look her up.
Yeah,
That's definitely a shout out to have. Do you have
yeah.
any closing things that you want to leave people with?
Don't give up. Fight your battles. When you know, you know. If you feel like where you're supposed to be, stick with that. And if it doesn't work out in one place, it doesn't mean you're out. Just
I love it.
and yeah, don't show up without a portfolio. By God, how
Yeah.
many of them show up without a portfolio?
I
It's
mean, if you don't have one,
unbelievable.
we're gonna cast you back out there and make sure you get one.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, that's funny. I think words of advice for the women out there. This was one of the other things that came years ago, and I'm sorry, my children in the background are barking.
Oh no, it's
But
fine.
as a woman, we do not negotiate what we're worth.
Yep. I
That's
like
it.
that. I love that.
There's no negotiation. Remember that every client that comes in,
Yep.
we don't negotiate our worth, you know, and as long as you stick with that, but you have to know your worth. So know your worth and know it respectfully
Yes.
and then never negotiate from that.
I
Um,
agree.
that's the big thing.
I agree with
Give
that.
back, give back. If you've been given to, give it back.
Well, and
Goes a
that's
long
how
way.
you feel confident, not having to explain your worth because you know how much you gave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. So if somebody we'll close on this and then say our goodbyes, but if somebody wants to reach out and work with you, what are the best ways to get in touch with you? And then where can they follow you?
My personal Instagram that I use most of the time, it's real simple. My name's Lita, Lita. If you just Google search artist Lita, you're gonna find me. That's my email address, artistlita@gmail, artistlita on
Nice.
Instagram, artistlita.com. You can also search boobsandtattoos.com or Instagram. I own the trademark on that, which is
Nice.
amazing.
I love
Uh,
that.
I know, right? Took me a year and a half, but I got it, girl. I got it.
Do not
Um,
negotiate.
but yeah, as far as reaching out, oh gosh, I've gotten so busy that I don't do most of my messaging anymore. I have finally hired out that task to another person. Um,
Good for you.
so when you reach out, they work directly with me on most everything. So just shoot a message. We prefer email. That's where we sort of catalog because you can get so much going on with all these different social medias and stuff that we have to keep up
True.
with. So email is usually the direct way. Send an email, you'll get a response usually within 24 hours.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
It was an honor. You're
Let's do
awesome.
it again.
Yes, we have to. We have to. We're going to have history to talk about together after
We
this.
are.
So it's
Yeah.
going to be
If you
amazing.
ever, yeah, yeah. I appreciate it. I look forward to not only seeing you in Oklahoma, but seeing you in Florida.
Yes, ma'am. Well, now I got to make it happen.
Yes, yes, you do. Like I said, a few months out,
It's
we'll have
great.
you a
And
calendar.
I love Renee. I just absolutely adore her. So this is going to be a
Yeah,
blast. Thank you.
yeah. You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Lita. You have a great rest of the evening and good night. And thank Dawn,
Thank you for the opportunity.
of course.
I will
Bye.
talk to you soon. Bye.
Yes.
All
Bye.
right, bye.
Honestly, diary listeners, I could have talked to Lita for another 3 hours. It was awesome. Please go and follow her everywhere you can. Again, that's artist Lita. Lita is her name. And that's Instagram. And like she said, her email address. There's also boobs _and _tattoos that you can follow to actually see some of her nipple restorations and things of the like. She does trademark the name. That's why we really wanted to highlight that today for her last part of this diary entry. Also, this is anecdotal and a personal ask, but I have a sick kitty. I don't know why just December is when he chooses to catch a cold, but my little man is under the weather, so if everybody could just sling him a bit of love. His name is Icus, and he's my baby. He's one of two, but he's has a little bit of a cold, and I'd love for him to rebound, so if prayers could be sent, that would be lovely. Diary listeners, I hope you're all having a very wonderful holiday season. I do apologize for last week that I got the start date of Hanukkah wrong. I was wrong. I had it on good authority. I was right. But I'm not going to blow up my source. I'm just going to admit that I got it wrong. But regardless, I want everyone to know that I'm sending you lots of love and appreciation. And what I hope most is that all of us recall the gifts that we already have. As much as we're looking forward to giving and receiving, please understand and be grateful for all that we already have. Thank you, Diary listeners. God bless and great week.
Thanks for listening. You can find the Apprenticeship Diaries on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Our IG is _apprenticeship_diary. If you would like to offer constructive criticism or an interview, drop us an email at theapprenticeshipdiaries@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from our listeners.